Hey, what's up guys? So let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. I know it's been 8 months since I last uploaded a video, and for that very reason guys, I am sorry. If you follow the page, if you follow my social media, you know that I was still really active on Instagram and Twitter as far as anybody reaching out to me with questions, but I really got in the position where I didn't want to sit by YouTube on my iPad and check the numbers or view counts or likes or comments. So I really kind of got lost as far as like the content I wanted to provide you all, the viewer. So with that being said, I do want to apologize because I did get kind of caught in my head as far as like what kind of content do I feel like the filmmakers that are following me or new filmmakers that find me want to learn. And so I didn't want to get caught in the journey of trying to get the most views or trying to get the most likes or anything like that. So I really wanted to remain honest. If you can tell, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not collaborating with anybody. So anything that I bring to this page, whether it's gear, knowledge, software, resources, anything like that, is strictly coming from my opinion as a filmmaker. And I want to share these opinions with you, the good, the bad, and sometimes, the halfway as far as like you making your decision whether this is good for you. So with that being said, today I want to introduce you to this little guy that has completely increased my workflow. So the first thing you're probably going to ask yourself is, what is Timecode? Think of it this way. Timecode is a master clock that you can send to all your devices on the film shoot. So if you have multiple camera setups, if you have external recorder, all this Timecode is a clock that's sent to all these devices. That way it's going to make it easier in post. Once you take everything to post, you click one button and then you can sync your video files with your audio files, making life heaven for you in your post-production workflow. Now, there are different variations of Timecode that we're not going to really get too in depth with today because we're going to speak on the Tentacle Sync E. But with Timecode, essentially, with all the influx of new cameras and new gears out here, there are certain cameras and certain audio devices that can generate its own Timecode that you can pass to your camera devices. But the cool thing is, for our indie level, our prosumer level, we get a touch of Timecode and generating Timecode ourselves. And Tentacle Sync E makes that possible. The cool thing about Tentacle Sync is not only does it receive Timecode from a device that can generate its own Timecode, it actually can create its own or generate its own Timecode for you then to sync other Tentacle Sync E's to send to your devices. Whew, that was a mouthful. So if you have 3 Tentacle devices and you want to sync these all, the first thing that you would do is you need to sync all 3 of these to have one master clock. The cool thing is Tentacle Sync E actually provides an app that you can do this with. So all you need for your app is to download it onto your phone or to your iPad or your smart tablet. The next thing you need to do is make sure that your Tentacle E syncs are turned on, as well as the Bluetooth on your device. Then you're going to see that you can actually pair these or get your app to recognize your Tentacle Sync E's. The really cool thing is that they give you inside the box a little band that you can label them, and each Tentacle Sync E comes with a name that you can change. So that's really cool. So one of the important things is when you're jamming, you want to make sure that all your settings are the same. So the cool thing is before you hit sync, or rather after you hit sync, you'll see that Tentacle Sync is going to ask you for your frame rate and to make sure that everything looks good. So once you establish your frame rate on your devices, you then need to match that frame rate to your cameras. So if it's 2398, then your camera needs to be 2398, just so everything looks correct for you in post and nothing's jittery or off by a second. Now, syncing. Remember, we talked about Timecode earlier. So Timecode can either be in metadata form, which we're not really going over today, or it can be through your audio waveform. This is the next step for Tentacle C that makes it more ideal for prosumer cameras, because if your camera does not have a timecode receiving endpoint, which most cameras on the market are not going to have, then Tentacle Sync bypasses and actually uses an audio waveform on your camera. So you can actually attach this if you have a 3.5 jack that goes into XLR, or 3.5 that goes into a 3.5 mic that's on your camera. So the next thing, Tentacle Sync is going to send a digital timecode signature that's going to sound like. All right, so after you plug it in, turn it on, and you sync your Tentacle with your camera, the next thing that you want to do is turn on your on-screen display. You want to see your audio waveform and make sure the Tentacle's timecode signal is not peeking out your camera. If it's peeking out your camera, go ahead and turn it down, either inside the Timecode app that you can find the volume control, or inside your camera. Just make sure it's a little bit under, that way that sound or that timecode signal is not getting distorted. So cool fact, I did distort the sound, the timecode sound on my camera as a test, just to see if the software that Tentacle provides could actually sync it even with the distorted, and surprisingly it did still sync it. So timecode still was able to be recognized and accurately placed on the video file. However, this was just a test. This is more so if you just accidentally distort, don't rely on that. Make sure that you're always not peaking on your audio files. All right, so after your time codes are all synced, you have the correct frame per second, everything is plugged into the camera. The next thing you want to do is you want to go into your external audio device. Now, cool note is, for my external audio device test, I decided I wanted to use the Zoom H4n. So by doing this, all I did was put my Zoom H4n in 4-channel mode, and then I hooked up one of these syncs and put it into the mic input. With that mic input, I could see it, and I made sure it wasn't peaking as well. The next thing I did is I added my boom mic, and I put it into the second XLR input. Now with that, I could see the input of me speaking, and then I could see the timecode signature on track 1 where the mic is. So now I have this waveform that are going to have 2 separate files. Those 2 separate files are the files that I'm going to use to throw into my syncing software. That way the time code is going to be in every file that I place. So it's going to be in my video file, it's going to be in my waveform file, and because my boom is attached on a 4-channel, it's going to recognize it as being time coded. That way it's going to sync all together in this software. So once I have my software up, I'll take my footage and my audio files, and I'm going to drop it into the software. Now, once I put it in here, the only thing I have to do is hit the sync button. Before I hit the sync button, you'll see that the software recognizes the timecode signal, and it's going to be right underneath each file, and you'll see timecode in the audio file. So this lets you know that your timecode did pass through, it was received, and the software recognizes it. The next thing is I'm going to hit the sync button, and you now have a multi-camera project that all have time code synced together, and you get a full project that now has your project completely synced with all your camera views. So the next thing you need to do is, you're not exporting the video. You want to export the XML file. The XML file can be exported into a NLE program of your design. If you're on the Mac side of everything, it's the simplest one-click intuitive for you to get your XML files and all your video footage synced to simply drop or import into a timeline. However, if you're on the Windows side, which I am a Windows user, you'll find that the alternative version that they created for the Windows side is not the same as the suite on the Mac side, and therefore it has its struggles. In my experience, it doesn't work very well. I actually looked at a couple comments and a couple other YouTube videos, and there's a lot of people that say it the same way. It doesn't really work too well, and it's not very simple looking compared to the one on the suite version. So that's one of my downfalls. You will have to find a way to get a Mac into your workflow. So if you're a Windows user, maybe you get a $200 or $300 refurbished Mac that you could actually run the software off, because simple one-click aspect of it is definitely worthwhile having a Mac that you have off to the side if you're a Windows user. Another pitfall is not really a pitfall that's more so on the actual device's problem list. It would be more so of the user in adjusting to this, which is, as you use timecode in your audio file, it can be a scary moment because you're sending this digital signature that has a loud noise to supersede over your internal mic for your camera. So essentially, you're not grabbing any scratch audio. So that's the pitfall of using a timecode that goes simply through into your audio WAV files. Now, there are ways to get around this, and this really comes at your own risk of using this because it's going to seem really scary that you feel like you don't have scratch audio. Now, the cool thing that Tentacle did for this very reason is their later models, which is the Tentacle Sync E, actually comes with a microphone that can record scratch audio while it's sending a digital signature to your camera. The bad part about this is that you have to supply at least phantom power to the Tentacle for it to even turn on to grab the scratch audio. So for a lot of young users who are doing interviews or commercials or anything like that, that may be scary to not have a form of scratch audio that's directly coming into your camera. If you have any other ways around that, please feel free to leave a comment. My pluses for this device is really cool because it's definitely an entry level into working with timecode. As we've seen the industry come down on camera prices, come down on audio prices, it's really cool to see high level production resources now coming into the consumer platform. Whether it is just a Tentacle C timecode, this is really cool to get, a opening or walking step into, a production that's growing and furthering your skill set into learning and communicating with sound department about timecode. Now, there are other resources out there that help you sync audio. Premiere can help you sync by waveform. Pluralize is still around that you can, drop your footage or drop your audio in there, and it will give you the best automation of trying to figure out by waveform, and I believe timecode as well, to sync this together. But I think Tentacle Sync brings the best solution, the easiest solution in their update models, where you syncing a timecode device by your app that everyone usually pretty much has, either iPad or a cell phone that you can bring on set, then simply putting it into your device where now everything is synced to all you have to do is press one button. This is huge for the prosumer level. So if you feel like this is a good product for you, a good resource, go ahead and pick it up and add it to your workflow. I promise you it's going to make your life easier. If you have any other questions, comments, any updates, anything that I forgot to mention, go ahead and leave it in the comments below so everybody can take a look at it, including myself. And if you have any more questions or you want to reach out to me personally, you can follow me on Instagram. You can hit me up on Twitter at OhkayCarlos. And until the next time, peace.